My name is Blade Clark, and I'm in the Undesirables Room of the Connor House. Tonight, we're going to talk about the real history of this room. There is a family in this town. I won't be saying their name because there are some of the descendants still in the area. So out of respect for them, I'm not saying the name, but I do know most of the story. What was shown on TV about this room absolutely was not true. There were not people kept against their will in this room. There were not people chained up in this room. That never happened. There is absolutely no sign of any kind of torture, psychiatric care, psychiatric abuse, anything like that in this house. The real story of this room is that the family that lived here had a son, and at that time, he was what they called simple. That meant that he was mentally handicapped, and this was his room. Even when they had a boarding house here, he lived here in this room. That's why when it was a boarding house, no one was allowed in this room. It was always locked because they didn't want their son dealing with the ridicule that handicapped people faced at that time. So he largely stayed here, stayed in this house, stayed in this room, but would go to town occasionally. And that's the truth of this room. That it used to be the room of a mentally handicapped person that lived in this house. And back in the time period they lived here, they would have definitely been considered undesirable, unwanted, and uncared for by most of society. From what I know of this house and of the family, I truly believe that they were loved, they were cared for. This house was a happy home to them, and they were not abused here by their family or anyone else. But because this room was always kept locked and people can't help but talk, can't help but start rumors, a whole other story was put out there that is just absolutely not true and has absolutely no basis in fact whatsoever. So now that I've got that out of the way, that the true story is known, I'm going to start investigating in this room and see what happens. This whole house at night feels very different than it does during the day. But this room, not even the whole New Orleans room, but this bathroom in particular feels very different. It just feels heavier in here. And I really don't know why. In a house this old, you can't ever know exactly what went on, who did what, or anything like that. You just have to take the known historical record, and if you're an investigator like me, do what I'm doing and try to fill in the blanks where you can. And sometimes you may never get all the details, but at least we're trying. So I'm going to start my necrophonic app, and we'll see what we get. I haven't even turned on the app yet, and the room pod started going off. And anyone that's ever used one of those before knows that to set it off like that, you've got to be touching the antenna. And just in case, I set it back to 0, and it's still going off. Is there someone standing in front of me? Is there someone in this room with me? Can you tell me your name? It said boy. I've got that response a few times tonight. What are you trying to tell me? That literally just said simple. What are you trying to tell me about a boy? I feel safe. I don't feel like there's anything evil here, but I feel very, very uneasy in this bathroom, and I don't know why. Did something happen in this bathroom? Can you tell me what happened? Sitting in the same spot that I'm sitting in, my friend Chris got the name Anna. Can you tell me Anna's last name? Is Anna the lady in white? And for those of you that have never been to this house that don't know, in addition to the lady in white painting that's in the house, there's also a local story of people seeing a lady in white out these windows here. And driving by this house, I've never seen it with my eyes, but I have actually taken photos of the house, and then when I reviewed the photos later, you could see the apparition of a person and windows up here. And it hasn't always been these same windows behind me, but it's always been on this one side of the house, never any of the other parts of the house. I feel like that just said my name too. Is there anything you want to tell me? Is there anything that I can tell Connie that you want done to the house? Right now, I'm talking to the boy that lived in this room, and only the boy that lived in this room. Is it easier for you to communicate through the REM pod? Do you like it since it lights up? If I put the spirit box away, will you start playing with the REM pod? Okay, that tap, that was from the New Orleans room ahead of me. And I'm investigating here completely alone tonight. There's not anyone else here with me at all. I'm going to try to communicate with the boy that stayed in this room. And I'm going on the premise that being mentally handicapped, he may not be able to interact the same way everyone else can. So the room pod being like a toy with lights and sounds is what I'm going to try to use to communicate with him, in hopes that that will be easier for him to manipulate. Is the boy that lived in this room here? If the boy that lived in this room is here, I want you to know that I'm here in peace, that I'm just here to talk to you. I won't hurt you. This is your house, your room, and I'm a guest here. You feel free to be where you want to be and do what you want to do in your own house. Just as long as it isn't anything that's going to hurt me. Right now I'm on the second floor of the house, and I'm just documenting this to say it because this is really weird. There's absolutely no way no one could be looking in through any of these windows, but I feel like I'm being watched from behind me. I'm going to do a tap on the wall. If you're here, can you repeat the pattern that I do? And I don't know if that's a person or if there's a dog or what it is, but I do hear some noise outside. I'm just documenting that so people know that's not anything paranormal happening here in the room or in any part of the house. I truly feel like the boy that lived in this room is at peace, that he's not haunting this house. He's in heaven where he's meant to be. And I feel like anything that anybody experiences in this room is not from him. It's from something else entirely. Can you light up the room pod if you want to keep communicating with me? I don't want to say that it feels a lot lighter in here because it still feels very, I don't know what to call it other than uneasy, but it just feels like there's just something going on, somebody around you, and it just doesn't feel normal in here. But it does not feel at all the same as it did when I walked in. And I'm not getting any more responses on my equipment. So I'm going to end this video here and go to a different part of the house.